Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Annabelle, and welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hope that we can finally escape this show.
Join us every week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Yes, we shall try. We will most certainly try. This week we are talking about Season 2, Episode 12, Nightshifter. Which, watching the episode, this name is like spot on. Like this is a great episode name for what happens in this episode. It's chef kiss.
I love this episode. I would go as far to say this is one of the best episodes of Supernatural ever.
Yeah, I can see that.
We'll have to do our top 10 at some point, I guess, once we watch all of them again. But I mean, this feels like it'd be in it.
Yeah, it should be at least. I don't think you could do a top 10 out of 327 episodes. That's very limited. I would say top 20.
Well, yeah, already like moving those goalposts.
Like, you gotta have at least 2 from each season, right? That's gonna be top 30 then.
I guess so. Yeah, fine.
Coming back to this episode. Yeah, no, it deserved its 9 point out of 10 on IMDb because it was very, very good. For
sure. And I mean, this episode is written by my fave, Ben Edlund, and directed by Phil Segrisha. And I just feel like at this point they're just the dream team. Like this was like quintessential Supernatural. Like the jokes were on point.
Yeah. The
acting was on point. The storyline was great. Like, it's such a good episode. I love it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And I'm so sad that like it didn't stick in my mind. And I guess because the last episode is so creepy.
Yeah. Even
though rewatching it, this one definitely outshines the other one. I do feel like I would remember Playthings more than Nightshifters. Maybe.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, because I guess that's like a Monster of the Week episode, and this one kind of isn't. It is, but it isn't. I love this storyline, and they've kind of been building up to it. There's 2 other episodes, obviously, which are mentioned here, where they've been building up to this, and I really enjoy this whole FBI chasing them storyline, because it just makes sense.
Yes.
Like, they are serial killers.
Yes, they are.
And they have done terrible things, and they're not good at they're not good at covering their tracks. So, of course this makes sense. I feel kind of sad they dropped this in later seasons, because it's so great. I'm sorry, but like, wouldn't it have been like a really great ending to the show if they just got arrested? Like, you just saved the world.
That would be hilarious.
They're driving away from where they left Chuck, and then it's like, woo!
And here comes Hendrickson.
No more magic, like, FBI shield around you. Sorry, boys. Like, it would be stupid. The thing is, I don't think I would have been mad at that, because it would have been so out of nowhere.
It would have been great. It would have been great. And they just like die of old age in prison.
It's so depressing. I love it.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Man.
But they wouldn't stay in prison.
No. I mean, this episode, it shows how good they are, right? So,
yeah.
Well, with all the alluding to it and like talking around it, let's get into it, I guess.
No, I guess so. So with the recap, I'm now realizing why I thought the like family business slogan or whatever was in season 2, because they have played it at the beginning of every single episode.
Yeah.
They were driving it home.
They were really trying to sell those t-shirts. Like,
oh yeah, definitely. It kind of clicked because I was like, wait a minute, this is the 12th time I've seen this.
I just hear it in my dreams sometimes. Like, I can hear Dean saying that. Perfect cadence, like, absolutely 100%. Just can hear it at any point in my day. Yeah,
just thinking about it. Think about it now. Go. Yeah, you heard it. Oh, goodness. So it's mostly a recap of skins that's shown. And so I wrote, I wonder who's getting arrested this time.
Yeah.
I love this transition from like this recap to what's going on in the episode. I literally was like, okay, this is a way to start an episode. It starts with a news report and it's a bank robbery.
Like, it's so good because it's literally mid-sentence of Sam saying the word murder and then it goes to like breaking news.
He's being held on suspicion of murder.
We're here downtown in front of the City Bank of Milwaukee.
It's so great. Good. Like, the thing is, I don't know what it is about these episodes, the FBI storyline ones, but these were the original breaking the fourth wall plots. Like, because this is an example of that. They just put a breaking news into the recap.
So, the editor for this episode was Tom McQuaid. Like, good job on him. He did a really good job with this. I had to look it up because I was like, we don't generally talk about the other people behind the scenes, but yeah, he did a really, really good job with this editing.
Generally, editors are probably one of the most important people working on the show. Like, you can have all the scenes, like, you can direct it nice, but like, if it's not edited right, it's gonna look like garbage. But then also, on the other hand, if you edit it great, like, you can make the best thing ever out of something that was maybe not amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I do wonder if you go back to some of our other favorite episodes, who the editors were. See if there's any. Yeah. Anyway, it was a great transition. I was like, this is a very big contrast from the quietness of the last episode.
Yeah, I paused and was like, what? And I actually went back and watched it again. Like, they actually just did that. It was so good.
Oh dear. And so they're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and there's some sort of hostage situation going on in the bank, and some paramedics are about to enter the building, and we see like an older guard being pushed out the door, but like guided out the door. And it's Dean in like a pale plaid shirt. Like, we never see him in that kind of outfit. It was a good outfit.
Can I just have a moment of silence for this shirt because I loved it so much. Oh, that like orangey brown plaid. Yeah, you're right. We don't see it very often, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I think they chose it so it showed up a little bit more in the very dark vibe of this episode.
Yeah, I think so, right?
But
because Sam's in his lighter blue shirt too, like the striped. Yeah, it was good. And I was like, oh no, there's all these police and Dean's on camera again.
Yeah. I guess you would kind of maybe think he was a shifter again because it's just showing you in the recap like skin. I was like, oh, what's going on? But yeah, I love it. And then that's the title card. That's it. Like that's it. That's the start of the episode.
Yeah, it was such a great way to start an episode. It was, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Now, see, this is when I appreciate a backwards in time thing, because you start with something shocking that you're not expecting, and then if you go back, because it's a day previous, you're like, how are they going to get to this point? And I like it when they do it that way around.
Yeah, so I do too. And the way that they do this one is more interesting than they do in other shows. So I guess, spoiler for later on in this episode, but like what we just watched is going to happen, but we're seeing it from the outside, whereas later on we see it from the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is a nice like change, rather than like, I felt like most of the time, because I actually forgot that they had done the day previous.
Yeah.
Until, like, reading back, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what they did. And I didn't mind that, but it's just those ones where it's like the week before, and then it gets to that scene, and they basically replay the scene.
Yeah.
I already know what's happened. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It's more interesting when you do it from someone else's perspective.
Exactly.
So, it is one day ago. Dean and Sam are in a jewelry shop, and they're dressed as FBI agents. Dean is flirting with the cashier lady pretty hard.
Yes.
Well, yeah. And I mean, she's pretty responsive to it, so it's kind of a nice little back and forth they've got going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Sam's being a bit more serious because he's talking about the robbery they've just had. And it was like one of their employees, and it was someone you would never suspect. And they came in and robbed the place, killed the security guard, and then was found dead in their bathtub at home with a hairdryer. So everyone's like, why did they do it? Why did they rob the shop?
Mm-hmm.
So I like it 'cause it's kind of already laying down the case, and you can see why they would be investigating this. It is weird.
Yeah, so the sales associate, like the female sales associate, is very much like, you know, if I give you my number, I can let you can call me and ask me more questions in private.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You're a true patriot. You really are. Why don't you write your number down there for me? That'd be good.
It's like the first time his on-screen flirting has actually worked.
Yeah, I think he looked surprised that it worked because she suggested the like private interview, and he was like, "Oh, it worked!" Like his face. And when he like walks up to Sam, he like kind of like sneakily shows him the number he just got, like proud. Like, it's just a silly moment.
It was great.
But they want the security tapes, but the police have already taken them. So we kind of see them talking about, because another bank robbery afterwards. So they've gone to this jewelry place, they're back in the car, they're talking about another bank robbery that took place where a similar thing happened, but in this case the security guard was knocked out rather than killed. So they are at his house. And I really like, as they're getting out of the car, Dean just really casually shading the police.
Friggin' cops.
They were just doing their job.
No, they're doing our job, only they don't know it, so they suck at it.
Dean has zero respect for the police.
Yeah.
Like,
none whatsoever.
I think in this episode, I think particularly it kind of shows basically thinks that they're stupid, because I guess they probably have seen loads of supernatural stuff and have never picked up on it. And also, they kind of have this vendetta out for the Winchesters, whereas Dean probably thinks if they did really properly investigate it, they could find out that it's not them. You know?
Right.
It does look bad, but at the end of the day, it's not them doing these things. So he probably does feel like he could just do a better job. And he does regularly. So
this is true.
So they knock on the door of this guy. His name is Ronald Resnick. And they show him their FBI badges. Did you catch the names on their badges this time?
I didn't, no.
So Sam says Han Solo. And Dean's is a bit more difficult to make out. It could be Jack Bauer, but it's difficult to see.
Okay.
But this Ronald guy is clearly very paranoid. There's like loads of lights on his porch. He only talks to him through a screen. He's like, why do you want to talk to me if you're the FBI? But when they kind of express interest in talking to him about his statement, he kind of changes how he looks and lets them in. So he's clearly excited to talk to them.
Come to listen to what I gotta say?
Well, that's why we're here.
I like Ronald. I just want to say this out. Like, I really like Ronald. He was a good character in this episode.
I don't know about that. No.
He didn't help at all any situation, but I love him.
I don't. I have mixed feelings, I guess. I have to say, anytime that they do, like, Sam and Dean do anything in sync, it always makes me smile. So, like, when they put the badges up onto the window for him to read them, that made me laugh. Or, like, yeah, that was good. So, Ronald is a complete conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Aliens included.
Can relate.
And I was just thinking, like, Sam and Dean are like one bad case away from being this guy.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Like one really bad case. And Ronald just basically figured everything out, apart from he thinks it's a mandroid.
Part man, part machine. Like the Terminator. But the kind that can change itself, make itself look like other people.
Like the one from T2.
Exactly. See? So not just a robot, more of a mandroid.
A mandroid?
Yes. And he like holds up a magazine with a Cyberman on the front.
Yes.
Oh, so great. Doctor Who reference in there.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, maybe we should do Doctor Who after we do Buffy. 40 years, let's go.
Next you'll say we should do Sherlock, and then I'm out, Annabelle.
No,
I'm not getting back into this. We can't go back to
Sherlock.
2012.
I'm not doing Sherlock. Someone else can do that. We can do one episode. That's it.
I don't want to do Sherlock.
No,
I'm out.
boy.
I'm out of that.
No. Me too.
Yeah, I love this. I'm surprised that I've never seen more gifs of his conspiracy board like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because I feel like this guy has similar vibes.
Definitely.
We love Ronald. Well, I love Ronald. I have good feelings. And I think, okay, what I like here is that Dean is vibing with him on a nerd level. And
yes.
This is why I think Ben Edlund's so great, because I really think he understood Dean's character. Mm-hmm. Because I've said it before, and I'll definitely say it again. Dean loves a nerdy little dude. Like,
yes, he does.
So they're kind of talking about robots. I think Dean makes a Terminator reference and stuff. And he asks him why he's so sure that this is a mandroid. Which is great. Like, I like that term. And so Ronald shows him the security tapes that he took copies of from the bank, which I'm sure is probably very illegal. Probably. Yes. And we see on it Juan, who he worked with, has like glowing eyes. And we've seen this before, so we know that he's a shifter. Mm-hmm. And I did think at this point that they would kind of talk to Ronald about it, because he's saying, if no one else is going to investigate this, I'm going to investigate it. And he's clearly already like super deep into it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what Sam was trying to achieve here.
Maybe he was trying to scare him off a little bit. Because like he like, Sam stands up and starts to... I love Dean's face in this, because Dean looks so proud that he's about to divulge that everything that he said is true, apart from he's got it wrong. But it turns out Sam's actually just going to straight up lie to him and say, like, look, you're crazy. There's no such thing as mandroids. There's nothing in the sewers. Like, leave it alone.
I want you to listen very carefully, because I'm about to tell you the God's honest truth about all of this. There's no such thing as mandroids. There's nothing evil or inhuman going on out there. It's just people. Nothing else, you understand?
Yeah. Maybe it feels very different to like Sam in earlier episodes, because I feel like most of the time he does try to tell the truth and like let people know that there are things out there. Maybe he can tell like his potential incompetency. There's no real indication as to why Sam would really think that, other than the fact that like he's got all this crazy stuff taped to the walls. But at the same time, in pilot, that's exactly how John's motel room looked like. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure.
I get Sam had to do this for the episode, but it did feel a bit out of character, I will say that, with him not being sympathetic to him, because clearly this guy's gone through something, right? I think they said he was like beaten unconscious by his friend who he worked with at the bank. And then that guy was found dead later. And then he's tried to put it all together into this big conspiracy board, and is clearly like deep down the rabbit hole. So I feel like he would have been a bit more sympathetic, and Dean definitely expected him to be. So It's an odd one. There was nothing else in the other episodes leading up to this that I would expect Sam to act like this.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think through like the whole conversation that they have. If there is something in there that sort of alerted Sam to something as to why he wouldn't tell him the truth, but really there was nothing other than the fact that like he was a bit of a nerdy person. But that's not really anything because so Sam.
Yeah, I feel like Sam looked at this guy, made a quick assessment, was like, he wouldn't be good in a fight, let's not tell him anything.
Yeah.
I guess he's kind of thinking that if they do get this all wrapped up very quickly, then this guy won't have anything to find. So eventually he'll just fizzle out and then won't have anything to look for anymore. So maybe he's trying to protect him.
Maybe he doesn't want to drag him into the hunter life either. Because I feel like had Ronald known that there were like genuine monsters out there, he would probably become a hunter.
That's true.
But maybe not necessarily. Here's the thing though, he would be an amazing man in the chair. Like, he figured all of this stuff out pretty quick by the looks of it. He would be a really, maybe, that's what it is. Sam was threatened by his research abilities.
You're not taking my job.
That's what it was.
That's so true. I mean, they leave and like Dean kind of agrees with our assessment that he did a good job.
What are you, pissed at me or something?
No, I just think it's a little creepy how good of a fed you are. I mean, come on, we could have at least thrown the guy a bone. He did some pretty good legwork here.
Mandroid?
Except for the mandroid part. I liked him. He's not that different from you and me. People think we're crazy.
Yeah, except he's not a hunter, Dean.
I think Dean would have happily brought him in, but I think actually, on reflection, in just these last 30 seconds, Sam is almost right here, because if this guy's already gone so deep down the conspiracy hole, can you imagine what he would be like if he found out that everything was like, there were all these supernatural creatures? Maybe it would like break him.
Because, yeah, you really do have to make a very quick assessment of someone's mental well-being. And he's obviously, you know, he their introduction was, I'm not going to let you in, to basically, like, not believe me. So, yeah, I could see that he probably would not have fared too well at this time. Yeah. Knowing the truth, as it were.
And I feel like they do make this mistake later on as well, bringing people in too early sometimes.
Yeah.
And then them getting killed. So, you know, they obviously know it's a shapeshifter. Dean's got the tapes because I think Sam scared them out with this guy. I think he said he remanned them, which I've never heard that word. While they're talking, like, Dean is drawing out a map and he's figuring out where the banks are and the jewelry shop is in relation to the sewer, because they know that shapeshifters like to live in sewers. I didn't realise that was like a trope of shapeshifters, but apparently. And they figure out that there's another bank that's on this route, so that's probably going to be the place where it strikes next.
I do like this a line that he says in here of
I hate those freaking things.
You think I don't?
Well, yeah, but one didn't turn into you and frame you for murder.
I think he could dislike them more than Sam at this point. And I was trying to think if a shapeshifter ever turns into Sam, but I can't recall.
There's kind of one in season 7, but it's not technically a shifter.
Okay.
Yeah. It can go on to Dean Winchester's top 10 hated supernatural things. So I know it's shapeshifters, and definitely witches are on that list. And
yes.
But I'm sure there's more that we'll come across. So
vampires too.
Probably Wow. Some vampires.
Well, he likes some witches too, so...
That's true, I know. So they're at the bank, and Sam and Dean addresses security guards, and I swear these are just the boiler suits that were repurposed from Shadow.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought too.
Which, it just gives me that really nice visual of like them painstakingly taking the patches off their other one and having to either sew, but more funnily, iron on these new patches.
But like they're in these really old motel rooms, so they probably do have like those crappy little irons in there.
It's like ironing a security guard patch onto the back of their boiler suits. The tiny motel iron.
Yeah. And you know, it'll probably be. I was gonna say it's probably be Sam, but I don't know. Maybe it was Dean who would do that.
I don't know. I feel like I agree with you. I'm like, first it was Sam. I was like, no, because I feel like Dean probably does their laundry, and I don't know why I know. Like, I feel like I know that, like deep in my heart, that Dean does their laundry. But fine.
I guess because he's the older brother, so he probably did do the laundry for the longest.
That's
so kind of
so
just
true.
like stuck as his chore to do. It's like I do the laundry, I guess.
Okay, so they're with like a nice security guard, like he's a nice older man, and he lets them into the control room, and he leaves them and he says like okie dokie, and Dean says I like him. He says okie dokie, which I enjoy because I am also a person who says okie dokie in real life.
Okie dokie.
Oh, that's too funny.
So, like, Sam's just like a downer in this episode. He's like, well, what if he's a shifter? It's like, come on, Sam. Oh. So they watch the monitors, and everything looks good. And Sam kind of says like, maybe we're here too early. Like maybe we jump. I think he said he jumped the gun on this one, and maybe being like a bit stupid, like being in a bank. And he like turns to Dean. And he finds him zooming in on this woman's butt on the security camera. Like, they've clearly been there a number of hours and boredom setting in.
Because he even says to the security guard, oh, we're not going to be here for that long.
Yeah.
Like, when does the security guard come back and be like, so, what's... Because they're in a bank. It's not like... They got in very easily. Like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to let someone come in for a surprise inspection on their security. Like, without... Anyway, it was a...
Look, suspend your disbelief for the funny episode. It's fine.
Definitely. So as they're looking through, they actually do miraculously see that the manager of the bank is the shifter, because he looks up at the camera, or like looks around and they catch his eyes on the camera. Dean calls him a freak, which I thought like really stuck out. Again, because they don't really use it that often. Well, they do, but they don't. So I just thought, oh, it hasn't been used in a while. And as they go to pursue the manager, we see Ronald, and he has arrived at the bank to make things worse. He's zip-tied one of the doors and chained another set of doors, and walks into the bank and says, this is not a robbery, but then shoots this like giant rifle, assault rifle. I'm like, Ronald, stop. You're not helping the situation. What was he going to accomplish with that?
I don't know. I guess he was thinking the shifters, or the mandroid in his case, is probably in the bank, so he's going to gather everyone together and find out who it is, but it is a stupid plan. But also, is it any better a plan than Sam and Dean had? Just they had less guns.
Well, so yes, but no, but like because right, they've now found out who it was going to be, so they could isolate him, being the manager too, and their security guards. They could be like, "Hey, we need you to come check the security problem."
Yeah,
and then gank him. But
I guess
Ronald has just come in to make it look like a bank robbery.
Look, I love Ronald, okay? I feel bad for him. He's trying his best. Not in a good way, but he's trying. But yeah, you're right. He comes in and he makes everything way, way, way worse. As they're going, Dean says to Sam, and you said we shouldn't bring guns. I guess they could have got away with bringing guns as well if they're security. But maybe it just would have been harder to get in still. And
I mean, so Ronald is ranting and raving at Dean, saying that nobody believed him. This is where I have an issue.
Yeah.
This is like sorry to bring this terminology into this, but he has that total incel like mindset of like,
entitlement that people should just believe him. Yeah, fine.
So that's where I have an issue, because he just doesn't know anything. Into like how is that massive gun gonna help you against what he thinks is a mandroid? Like, does he know how to kill a mandroid?
I mean, he thinks he does. He's watched a lot of Doctor Who. To be fair, guns don't really work against Cybermen, so no, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Exactly. So, like, all he's done is put people in danger by carrying a giant gun like that. Guns don't help situations. And apparently neither do blades, because Ronald tells them to pat down, because he recognizes Sam and Dean, and he gets pat down, and Dean has a blade on his ankle. I'm like, if I was a person patting someone down, I probably wouldn't tell the hostage person that I have like someone has a weapon. I probably would have just like left it alone.
Yeah, like give them a knowing look, you know, like oh, I see you have a blade there. I hope you help us get out of this hostage situation. Like,
right, because they seem pretty competent. Like as they walk in, they're like trying to calm him down and all this kind of stuff. Even though, okay, Dean's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like when he told him to get down on the ground.
Yeah, I really love that. That's so Dean.
Get on the floor now.
Okay, we're doing that. Just don't shoot anybody, especially us.
Yeah, okay, we're doing that. Yeah, so Ronald takes the knife and puts it in like a money deposit thing so we can't get it back. It's like a locked box or something. And Dean's been leading this interaction because he said to Sam as they were walking in, like, don't talk to Ronald, he doesn't like you.
And then it gets confirmed.
Dean's face is like, ha, I told you he didn't like you. Dean's still trying to get on his level, so even after he takes the knife, he says to him, like, come here, I need to tell you something, like, come here. Which also, I love Dean this episode. It's a good episode for him. And
definitely.
He basically tells him that it is the bank manager because they saw his eyes, and to take him as a hostage and let everyone else be somewhere, you know, be away from the gun, I guess.
Look at me, man. I believe you. You're not crazy. There really is something inside this bank.
I think Dean does a really good job here in like calming him down and like getting a real control of the situation.
Look, I mean, because Ron's not wrong.
It's true, yeah.
The only thing he got wrong is like the thing that he was after. So everything that Dean is telling him is, you know, there's no reason to lie at this point. I honestly thought he was just gonna like knock him out when he got closer.
Him, yeah.
Yeah. But I guess having him to help is something. I don't know.
That's an interesting one actually, because I feel like Dean definitely could have. Like he definitely could have just grabbed the gun and knocked him out. I feel that's within his skill set. Maybe he's just concerned because there is a possibility there that they could hurt the people around them. There's a lot of people, you know, in the vicinity. But then again, like he goes off with him by himself and doesn't do that. So anyway, we'll think about that.
So maybe he's also... It could also be the fact that he kind of sympathizes with Ron a little bit, because he does, you know, he's clearly distraught that nobody believes him, that this is something that's happening. So by showing him like what it is and like how to kill it, maybe it's like empowering. Yeah,
I think you're right actually. And also from a plan kind of level, if he had knocked Ron out here and taken the gun, he would immediately have been the person holding up the bank, because they wouldn't have let anyone go because of the shifter. So at least this way he could have worked with Ron a bit and been, you know, maybe got out of this situation without being arrested. At this point.
Yeah, at this point.
At this point.
Definitely.
So, yeah, if he had stopped Ron at this, you know, now, the shifter definitely would have got away.
Yeah, probably. They decide to put everybody in the vault as somewhere just to contain them all. And there's a redhead woman who's fawning over Dean for sacrificing himself. And Sam's like eye roll is the best. Like I can't imagine how many times like he's had to listen to like women fawn over his brother like for as long as they've been together.
And this woman's like particularly like, who is he? He's so brave. And Sam's just there like,
can you not? Like, my brother's with a crazed gunman. Oh dear.
I mean, when they've locked them in the bank, we see a policeman outside looking at the chain on the door, and he walks to like another bigger group of a lot of policemen. You're like, oh, this situation is escalating.
Yes. So I wonder if, because the bank manager's not in that group of people, so I'm wondering if like the bank manager is the one who set off like a silent alarm or something.
Yeah, it would have been in the shifter's interest, right, to get this situation over as quickly as possible and just escape with everybody else. Absolutely.
After we see the police, Dean and Ronald enter the manager's office and he's not there. And Dean goes into some sort of like closet, maybe bathroom, and Ronald slips up on something. And I can't. It's gross. It's so gross. So he's slipped up in the skin. The shifter has, the way that Sam says it earlier, the shifter has slipped its skin.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well put.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it does. So yeah, it slipped its skin. It's just on the floor.
It's nasty. And like Ronald is touching it and stuff and saying that it looks like,
sniffs it.
Yeah. And this is when Dean explains to him that it's not a mandroid. And he tells him what a shifter is and how to kill it, like silver. Luckily, somehow Dean finds a silver knife in the bank manager's office. Like, fine.
Could it not have been like a letter opener? Because it's in like this fancy like case that like there's possibly more of them.
Yeah. Does it have to be pure silver, like silver all the way through? Or do you think silver plated works fine? Like in a pinch, silver plated works fine.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go with yes.
I think it's got to be. There's no way this bank manager had a pure silver knife in his office.
As Dean's walking out of the office though, like his little trick that he does with the knife, like he just like flips it in the air and catches it. I was like, hell yeah.
How many times did Jensen practice that?
How much you want to bet he just did it in the first take, like by act like he was just doing it?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I wrote this down and this is so off the rails. Ronald's really happy because everything he thought is true, and like he's not crazy, everything's real. And I was like, guys, I feel this. I felt like do you think that Ronald felt how we all felt on like November 5th?
Yes.
Living that high. He was right all along. He's not crazy.
That's just it. I'm not nuts. I mean, I was so scared that I was losing my marbles, but this is real. I mean, I was right.
Yes, I think so. I think you're 100% right on that one.
And then also, you know, with supernatural mirroring real life, the lights will go out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And Dean basically confirms that the police have probably shut down the power. So when the police arrive, the music and everything that they use, like whenever they have police in Supernatural, like it seems to be like a parody of other police shows, right?
Yeah, this is true.
Like, because I think of like The Usual Suspects, and the way that like that whole thing played out was just, it felt like a really bad episode of something. I don't know, a standard procedural show. And so does this. Like when they're arriving and like the police officer walks into the trailer and he's like, "Tell me what's going on." I'm like, what?
It's great. No, you're right, actually. And I think what's interesting is who shows up later completely takes that off where we were expecting it to go, because police have been kind of bumbling, very inept at their jobs almost at times in this show. So yeah, it's interesting to see.
Can I just say one thing as well? Okay. So after they've shut off the power, and like Dean explains that, okay, the cops have just done this, Ronald's line, Ron, they call him both. He says, "I didn't think," and I was like, yeah, no, you didn't think, not at all. Like, he worked as a security guard at a bank. How did you not think that bringing an assault rifle into a bank is not going to cause police to come to said bank? Like, would you not have done the exact same thing if you were still working?
I mean, I kind of forgot that fact about him, but you're completely right. Like, he should have done a better job at this.
Like, he worked at a bank. You would know the procedures.
To be fair, when he was talking to Sam and Dean, he also said he let his friend in to play cards at night. So, I mean...
It's not looking good, Ron.
We're back in the vault. This woman is still talking about Dean to Sam, which I hope it's been at least sort of 20 minutes, just because I feel like that's the right kind of level of suffering that Sam deserves this episode. That sounds horrible, you know what I mean. Just listen to this woman like go on and on about his brother, like, he's so dreamy, wow.
He's like a real hero or something.
Yeah.
I really wanted someone else in the vault to tell her to shut up.
Yes. Yeah. He's just a guy. We're in a hostage situation. Get a grip, woman.
This is not the time to be thinking with your hoo-ha.
Drink some water. Then Dean opens the vault and puts in more hostages, and this woman's like, what?
Her dreams are dashed.
Yeah, and he takes Sam as well, like, Sam, let's go, bye, leave everyone else here.
Yeah. So Sam's understandably pissed, and like, he's obviously pissed about Ron's situation.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if like having this woman talked about like swooning over your brother for like 20 minutes or however long is what really like pushed him over the edge.
I think so.
Like... You know, Dean, you are wanted by the police.
Yeah.
So even if we do find this damn thing, how the hell are we gonna get out of here?
I don't know, one problem at a time.
So he asked Sam to like babysit Ron, which Sam's not happy about at all. And he says, like, Dean says that he's basically trying to protect Ron, like try and get him out of this alive, I think, essentially. Mm-hmm. You're right. I think Dean's sympathetic to him. I think he realizes that he's walked into a stupid situation. But I think Dean does maybe blame them a little bit for this, because maybe if they had told Ronald the truth and then told them that they were handling it, it may not have escalated to this point. So there's probably a bit of guilt there. There's so many good lines in this episode. Like, it's so good. Like, I think Dean says, well, as Sam's kind of, Sam's kind of calling Ronald kind of crazy. And Dean says that crazy's the only game in town. And leaves Sam. And then Sam just says, like, in a really small voice, like, hi, Ronald. Because he knows he doesn't like him. Like, it's so... Mm-hmm. These interactions in these episodes are just so on point. They're so, like, right. I don't know. It's just something about them that feels so right.
You're not wrong. So another thing that was said at this point as well, Ronald's like not really walking around, but kind of a little bit pacing back and forth in the light that the police are shining into the bank, and they tell him to get out the light. Mm-hmm. Like, he's kind of just properly staring out the window like, oh, I wonder what's going on out there.
Yeah, he's really out of his depth, I think, which is, I do think triggering Dean's protective instincts.
Definitely. He probably sees him as like, well, yeah. I think that if Dean could have a protege, like a mini hunter to teach now, he probably wouldn't mind. Like someone who was old enough, obviously not like, I'm not talking about like a teenager, but like someone of Ron's age. He probably wouldn't mind taking them on as like, let me show you what I know kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. He'd be proud to kind of show off because he probably really did enjoy teaching Sam stuff. And he doesn't really need to do it anymore. Sam's an adult, like he can take care of himself now. So yeah, he probably does enjoy that teaching aspect of hunting.
Yeah, definitely. So Sam and Ronald return to the vault and they sort of, because we see inside the vault everybody's sweating and it's like hot in there because obviously I don't think vaults have air in them.
No, I don't think so.
So he opens the door to let some air in and then the phone rings. And Ronald goes to answer it. And he's like, I don't have any demands.
Oh, Ronald. He does also say that he's acting alone. So he's trying to cover for Sam and Dean. Because, you know, which is nice of him, but immediately kind of doesn't work. The security guard from earlier, Okie Dokie Man, is having some kind of anxiety heart attack thing going on. Sam's not sure I don't think Sam's sure what to do actually, because he's like, it could be a trick, like it could be the shifter, or this could be genuine and this guy could be like really sick. So although Ron said they were acting alone, Sam then picks up the phone and says they need to send a paramedic for one of the hostages.
Yeah, and so there is a man there who's helping him, just kind of guilt tripping him, saying, what, you're just going to let him die in front of you? Like, we need to get him out. So I guess that convinces Sam to call back the police.
Yeah.
And we see Dean and he's walking through the hallways and he sees like a ceiling panel sort of moving, so he figures there's something. And he gets to poke it. He finally gets to poke something that he wants to poke. That's exactly what he does. He does it with like a coat hanger thing.
Yeah.
And the body of the guy who was helping the security guard is now had his throat cut and is dead and naked.
Yep. So, like, Dean arrives at the vault and he kind of walks up to Sam, and I thought it was really interesting here because it looks like they don't really say anything to each other. He just kind of looks at him and almost telepathically sends him a message. Like, I think they do have a whispered conversation, but you don't hear it. But I thought it was funnier that they're just speaking in telepathy. So Sam and Ronald take the security guard away. And Dean kind of looks at the shifter, and like the lighting here makes him look so menacing. Like it's on one side of his face, and the shifter looks at Dean like he knows, like he's a hunter or something's up, and so attacks Dean and runs off.
So I was thinking, if you were in that situation, if you were one of the hostages, whose side would you be on? I would be on the shifter side, because you wouldn't,
same.
like, by all accounts, like, this guy's just, like, joined in with this hostage taker.
Yeah.
And, like, nobody's really telling you anything. He says it's not a robbery. They're not doing it. Like, they're literally just hanging around, not doing anything. But you're trapped there. So it's just like, I probably would have helped. I would have probably, like, helped the shifter get away.
Yeah, I mean, he was also helping the security guard who looked like he was having like a heart attack or something. He seems like a nice guy. And then, like a hero, you know, he's getting past the bad people to escape. Yeah, you would have been on his side. It's a smart move on the shifter's part. So
Dean and Ron give chase to the shifter, and they end up running through like the front of the bank where all the lights are coming in.
Yeah.
And Ronald stops to like draw his gun to shoot the shifter and gets shot.
Yeah.
Gets sniped.
Ronald.
You were good while you lasted, mate.
Yeah. I really liked this, like the aftermath of this, because Sam and Dean are kind of hidden behind like one of the bank, what do you call them, tables?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're hidden. And there's just something about this, like after they watch Ron get shot, that it's just so in character, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Sam's immediately like, oh, I'll take this knife, I'm going to go solve this problem, like I'm going to go find the shifter. And he like runs off. So Sam's immediately in like action mode, like we have to fix this. Dean just like sits there for a second in shock almost, because he did like Ron. And I think I think he feels responsible for him, guilty that he's there.
I mean, he does apologize and thank Ron, which I thought was incredibly sweet.
Sorry, Ron. You did a real good job tracking this thing. You really did.
And it did feel, I guess because they're in the midst of like a horrible situation, they didn't really have time to feel guilt. And I don't think they ever really, well, they might do, maybe at the end of the episode. But this is the only time he really gets to talk to Ron after this has happened.
Yeah. And
it's just it's a really nice moment. Considering that they are blameless in this. Like, they did tell him to stay out the light. They did tell him to, like, this is a bad idea. Yes, they probably could have told him the truth, but they had no idea he would do this.
Yes, exactly.
Like, so they really have no blame in this whole situation. Because they could have, in the very beginning, they could have, like, again, knocked him out and handled the situation different, but they wanted to help him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was just the fact, Dean kind of thought he was, kind of a cool guy, figured this out all by himself, and feels kind of responsible for the fact that he got shot. It's, it's a tough situation. But yeah, I really liked it because I think, like, it's not that Sam doesn't care that he because Sam ran off. I think it's just Sam deals with things like that. Like, he's immediately action. I always think Dean kind of needs a moment before he then goes back into action. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Sam and Ron were probably starting to get along a little bit more at this point as well. Maybe. Maybe not. So he doesn't have that same kind of, like, he's obviously shocked and probably a little sad that he died, but he's also not as, because he wasn't as friendly, so he wasn't as attached.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I liked it. Well, I say I liked it, but I'm sad Ron died.
Yeah. So, you like the scene, but not what happened in it.
Yeah, exactly. So Sam's gone off. He's checking different rooms. He finds some of the hostages have wandered off, so he sends them back to the vault. He's like, "You're in danger. What are you doing? Go back." And we see Dean's taken the security guard outside to hand him over to the paramedics. And when he gets outside, he kind of realizes, oh crap, there's like helicopters and stuff here.
There are a lot of police officers there. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like every division, because there's obviously SWAT, there's the local police, there's probably like state police, sheriff departments, there's probably everybody.
We're so screwed.
I know. The refrain of this episode, my goodness. The thing is, if they'd been willing to let the shifter go, he could have just left at this point and probably been fine, because the FBI hadn't arrived yet. Like, it would have been easier for them to get away if they'd just come back for the shifter another time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does beg to question, like, at what point do you have to give up on a hunt? Because a lot of this stuff could have like, as soon as they realized that the shifter had slipped its skin, which is what the next line is, they could have all gotten out of there like easily.
Yeah. You're right. Before the FBI arrived, I think they could have got out with the rest of the hostages.
So Sam and Dean meet up, and Sam informs Dean that the shifter has slipped his skin. I just love that phrase. I think it's just really well, like, describes it perfectly. And they kind of talk about what they're going to do next. So, but he's also told them that people have escaped from the vault. So Dean's going to go round them up, and Sam's going to go continue to look for the shifter. As this is happening, some more police arrive, and it turns out to be the FBI, and it's our favorite dude, Victor Hendrickson.
I know. I was so happy to see him.
Me too. And he just says there's a monster in the bank. So when, like, because I didn't remember this episode, I was like, oh, yeah. Is he kind of like a, well, okay, there's two things going on. At first I was like, oh, yeah, he thinks it's, you know, he knows who the monsters are. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, it's not. I remember who he is properly. It's Irish for, ooh, is he a hunter too? Question mark. No, he's not.
He's not. And like, I thought this was so funny because it works on two levels, because he says there's a monster in the bank, and like, I knew he meant Dean because, you know, St. Louis, all that kind of stuff. But then the camera cuts to Sam. Oh, poor Sam.
So I guess at this stage in the, no, yeah, you're right. No, it should have been focused. Oh. Okay. Let's dissect this a little bit. Yes, the subtext. Because, you know, the last episode we covered, or, you know, spoke about how Dean had promised. Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the credits, and the guard who has the heart attack, he's credited as Okie Dokie Guard.
Oh my god, yeah.
Sorry. I just read that. I was like, that's amazing. Anyway. So yeah. Again, really good editing, because we've, you know, Sam thinks he's going to turn into a monster.
Yep.
And then Hendrickson has just said there's monsters in the bank.
Yep.
Ooh.
Look. Ooh. You got to look for the things. And it's just, the thing is, they didn't need to cut to Sam, because it's literally just a scene of him looking through doors, like there's no reason. And then it cuts back to Dean, and he's with the hostages, and the same lady who's been gushing about Dean for like the past, I don't know, hour or so, says to him, I thought you were one of the good guys. And I guess he feels kind of bad because he asks her name and they kind of share names, and he tells her his real name, and he tells her that everything's going to be all right and it'll all be over soon. Which, if someone said that to me in that situation, that it'll all be over soon, I'd be like, oh my god.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm gonna die.
I don't care how hot you are.
Yeah, no, there's nothing about that that's reassuring.
Nope. So he comes out and the phone rings and Dean picks it up, and it's Hendrickson. And he knows that he's speaking to Dean.
Yeah.
This is Special Agent Victor Hendrickson.
Yeah, listen, I'm not really in the negotiating mood right now.
Good, me neither. It's my job to bring you in. The live's a bonus, but not necessary.
Whoa, it's kind of harsh for a federal agent, don't you think?
Well, you're not the typical suspect, are you, Dean?
And it did a zoom. Did you see it?
I did.
The realization. Yes, amazing. Hendrickson's asking him and Sam to come out unarmed. And he says he knows who they are. He said that Sam's the Bonnie to your Clyde. And Dean kind of chuckles at that and is like, that's true. But Dean says, how did you know that we were here? Hendrickson says that he says, go screw yourself. That's how I know. And that's when I remembered how much I love Hendrickson.
He's basically the FBI version of Dean.
Yeah, he's yeah, he is perfect.
He's the FBI.
I guess this is nice because it's giving Dean an antagonist, because Sam's got the yellow-eyed demon. Not really Dean's antagonist anymore, because he's like, I don't care about that stuff. Let's just go and leave it alone. But yeah. Hendrickson is very much like Dean's antagonist.
And what's better than an antagonist that's like a reflection of yourself? Exactly.
Because Dean would have made a great FBI agent.
Yes.
I mean, he also would have been a great con man, and he kind of is one. So, I mean, you know, there's two sides of the coin there. And so Hendrickson kind of says that he's been looking for him for weeks. And I guess he's just been given the case then, because this has been going on for a long time. and he lists all of his crimes. So St. Louis, Baltimore, the desecrations, thefts. And I was like, what have they been stealing?
Like everything. They
And then
steal
I'm like,
everything.
Like Sam from that doctor's office, you know, that kind of stuff. And then he says about his dad. And I was like, he's going to get defensive.
Yes, and he does.
Oh, yeah, he does. Like, because Hendrickson goes in. This is a very, like, BAU tact. I watch a lot of Criminal Minds. And
Yeah,
they're
me too.
like, you need to rile them up, talk about their dad, and, like, you'll get a rise out of them. And this is exactly what Dean does, so...
I know about your dad.
You don't know crap about my dad.
Ex-Marine, raised his kids on the road, cheap motels, backward cabins, real paramilitary survivalist type. I just can't get a handle on what type of wacko he was. White supremacist, Timmy McVeigh, tomato.
You got no right talking about my dad like that.
I wonder what branch of the FBI Hendrickson works for. Do you think he's, like, violent crimes, or do you think he is, like, BAU serial killers?
You know, it would probably have to be the BAU because he is... The way that these crimes would be classified as serial killers.
Yeah.
And, like, serial criminals. So they would have to... So I don't know how true... Because I also watch a lot of true crime.
Yeah.
So, like, where the BAU, like, has an actual real-life equivalent, I don't know if they are, like, actual lead investigators.
Yeah.
Versus...
They're just consultants or, you know, work together with people and stuff. Yeah. I know it's not real.
I mean, this is not real either, so...
What?
So he could just be a FBI agent.
He makes me think
don't know.
of Fox Mulder because although he works in the X-Files now, Fox used to be a member of the like behavioral analysis unit before he was sent to the X-Files. And that's why he often in episodes talks about behavioral stuff of serial killers because some of the people that they do they're tying in the X-Files references and it's fine. But like yeah.
I mean, it could very well be that he is in that kind of unit because they seem to cover every kind of crime rather than like violent crimes or fraud and stuff like that. So computer crimes.
I think so. I'm saying that's true. That's me just saying it's true.
He's the supernatural equivalent of Hodge.
Yeah.
Or maybe. Okay, actually no, let's think about this.
I think he's more of apprentice.
Yes, I think so too. Yes. But like later seasons Prentice?
Yes, when she's in charge.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, glad we got that covered. So he says about John, like, your dad was an ex-Marine paramilitary survivalist type. Just, I guess, some kind of anti-establishment. I mean, obviously Dean gets defensive that he calls John, like he says, you know, I have no right to talk about my dad like that. He was a hero. I think it is unfair to John. Like, I know we don't like John Winchester on this podcast.
There was no sort of indication that John killed unnecessarily because you would see that in his sons. Yeah.
What it does give you is an interesting point of view of what this looks like from an outside perspective. That this guy took his two sons on the road, trained them military style to use guns and knives, and now they're going around the country killing people for crazy reasons. So the files they must have on them, they must think that at least, Dean at least has some kind of delusion that monsters are real and exist, and that's why he's going around killing people. It's interesting to think about. Do you know what they definitely should have done? Is that Criminal Minds definitely should have done an episode where they're hunting someone like Sam and Dean.
Yes, they should have done. That would have been really interesting to see how they would have coped with it.
Yeah, exactly. I like this because it does give you... What it does is it grounds supernatural in a bit of reality. And I think it kind of loses that later on. In later seasons, I think it becomes less horror and more fantasy almost.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But these kind of interactions really remind you that it's supposed to be taking place on our planet. I know it's not really, but it's in our universe.
Well, so that's what we were saying in season 1, that like it feels very much like it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like that there could be a Wendigo in the forest, or there could be a haunted bridge, or whatever, like a woman in white. Like it all does feel based in reality.
Yes.
Because they are sourcing from local legends, local folklore, and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas when they start to turn towards the more fantastical, it gets more difficult to really ground that in reality. Like, we're not seeing falling stars in the way that we saw the falling angels.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
So, yeah, Hendrickson gives them an hour. He says, you have an hour to come out. And then as soon as Dean hangs up the phone, he turns to the policeman next to him, or the SWAT guy, and is like, 5 minutes. So Hendrickson must know a lot about them, because he's given them a time frame and knows that they can escape. So by reducing that, I guess he's hoping to catch them. The police aren't happy with that, though, because they're worried about the civilians in the building with the SWAT team going in. But Hendrickson said Winchesters are dangerous, smart, and expertly trained. And I was like, yeah, but they're also massive dumbasses.
Yeah, right. They're expertly trained in killing things, not anything else.
Yeah, exactly. I like Hendrickson. He's very intense. That's the word for him, I think.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So Sam spots some blood on the floor. It looks like really goopy. Like it was thick. Anyway, it may have been like done in post. It didn't look like it was like a practical effect. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was a bit odd. You're right.
And he opens the door and he sees it's Sherry, who introduced herself earlier. And again, she's had her throat cut in the same kind of way. Yeah.
Sam and Dean meet up, and like they both kind of almost do that simultaneous thing.
Hey,
We got a bit of a problem outside.
We got a problem in here.
They go to the vault to get Sherry, and Dean says it's to let her go as a show of good faith, and she doesn't want to go with them, but Dean kind of insists, like, no, you're coming with us.
She notices the blade in his hand.
So that's why she doesn't want to go, because she notices that he has a knife with him as well. Which, come on, Dean. I'm sure you could hide it somewhere that you could get it out quickly and not alert a possible shifter.
Sorry. Anyway.
So they take her to the dead body and she starts screaming and then faints. Like, I love it. They're like threatening her and she just passes out. This is why this episode's so comedic, because she passes out and then they just like stand there like looking at each other like, what now? What do we do?
I mean, they even say that she's a pretty good actor.
Yeah. I love it.
So Dean gets on his knees and is about to like stab Sherry through the heart, but then Sam like kind of stops him.
It's so casual. Like, Dean's on his knees, like with his hands above it, and he kind of does a little shrug, like, I guess, and then like goes to stab her, and Sam's basically like, dude, wait, no, stop. Like, it's not urgent in any way. He's just, it's very casual, and I love it. Many. Again, this feels like this could be from like season 14. Like, it's great. Sam kind of points out like, what was the why did she pass out? Like, how is this helping her? Because you're just about to kill her. Like, it doesn't help. So Dean kind of looks at the other dead Sherry kind of closely, and then she attacks him.
The shifter attacks Dean because he's distracted by noise of the SWAT team entering the building. And then Sam like goes off to sort of delay the SWAT while Dean fights the shifter. And I was like, how is Sam this good? This is what I was thinking when... because he takes down like 3 SWAT agents. Like,
it's at least 2. Yeah,
he's a big dude. He's not that like. Is he that good? I guess this is what they were saying. They are this good.
the thing is, if you fight things that are stronger than you, often, right? I guess then taking down a couple of humans, even if they're in body armor, like he had the element of surprise. He like snuck up behind them. Like must be fairly easy. Like if you can fight a vampire who's like able to throw you across a room, I guess this is almost too easy.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. It's that whole like I think of like Dragon Ball Z where like he has all the weights on him and then he takes them off and he's like Super Saiyan like straight away.
Exactly. I think this is where it feels weird. I think I wouldn't expect Sam to be this good now. Like if this was Sam in like 5 years' time, yes, definitely. But now it feels a little bit odd because we've seen them get their ass kicked multiple times. Like Gordon very easily overpowered Dean. And he's just the guy. But again, he has the same experience with fighting things that are much stronger.
Way stronger.
Than him, so.
And I also wonder if there's a little bit of like the psychic power ability as well.
Maybe.
Like, because we do learn that it does make him a bit stronger too, eventually.
Yeah. I think what's interesting, and I really like that they did this, was they showed Sam taking down the SWAT guys very easily. And they're like men and they're fully armored. And he's just like, bam, bam, and they're on the ground. And then it cuts to Dean, who's fighting with this woman in a nightgown. And she's like...
kicking his ass.
Him. Yeah. It's kind of showing the disparity between humans and monsters, I think, because it looks like it should be easy for Dean to overpower this woman, but she's really not making it easy for him at all.
Yeah, definitely. The SWAT also arrive where Sherry is and like help her out of the room that they were in, and Dean manages to stab the shifter in the heart with the silver blade that he has.
My favourite thing about that fight, there were 2 things. The headbutts were pretty good.
Yes.
And the bit where her skin starts shedding and he's like, gross.
I forgot that happened.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was...
Gross.
So, do you think shifters have to shed their skin every so often?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a defense mechanism to like distract him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they did say that this shifter could shed its skin much quicker than the other one, so maybe it's just older, more practiced as well.
Probably.
Gross.
Very, very gross.
But yeah, you're right. He stabs her and then kind of looks like it's exactly like in Skin and Usual Suspects that he's now kneeling over a dead body looking very suspicious.
I mean, yes. Yeah. There's nothing else you could really say about that. And, you know, the SWAT team or SWAT people are shining a light in his face. And we don't know what happens.
So we see Hendrickson and some of the SWAT guys walk in. They find the dead body of the guy who was in the vault earlier, who the shifter was pretending to be. They also find the shifter, herself, fake Sherry, and one of the SWAT guys says, like, this is so weird, like I just walked this woman out. Like, she must have a twin. So that's going to be interesting to explain later. Because Sherry is definitely not going to say that she had a twin. Like, how are they going to explain that? And then we see Hendrickson, and the one of the SWAT guys says they're gone. Like, the scene's secure and they're gone. And Hendrickson is mad. He's like, tear this place apart. The SWAT guy says, well, no, we don't need to. Like, I've got something to show you. And he shows him 2 naked SWAT guys tied up in a cupboard.
Do you think they got the idea to change as a SWAT guys from the shifter?
Ooh, maybe.
I mean, they probably would have done something like that anyway, but I'm sure they would have been inspired by the fact that the shifter was taking the clothes of the victims.
I think that's a really good point, actually. I never made that connection before with this episode of them taking the clothes at the end with it being a shifter episode. That's really good. It's really good.
So yes, tell us about this transition, because it is a very good transition.
I watched it twice. I watched it twice and I watched it again on YouTube. The song is Renegade by Styx, and just the lyrics is like, I'm running from the long arm of the law, like the hangman's out to get me. It's all very good. And so we see Sam and Dean dressed as SWAT guys. I mean, it's obvious it's them. I'm not giving it away. Like, it's clearly them, because they've got, we saw the undressed SWAT guys as well. And they are running up to a parking lot to get into the Impala as this music's playing. They kind of take off their helmets and balaclavas underneath, and then they just kind of sit for a second in the Impala. Like, can't believe we just got away with that. I think that's what that is.
We all know that silence in Supernatural is telling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing they say in this whole scene is,
We are so screwed.
So it could be a bit of like shock that they got away with it, but then there's also more likely to be like, we have to be careful now. Like, what the hell have we gotten ourselves into?
Yeah, because I guess before, if you think about how this has escalated, so Skin, it was the local police force that were after them then.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got, like, when we go to Usual Suspects, again, it's the local police, but the detective did warn them that the St. Louis case was still open.
Mm-hmm. And then when you have two crimes committed in two different states, that's when the FBI would come involved.
But they didn't do anything in Baltimore. Oh, I guess they did escape the police, but they actually didn't commit any crimes in Baltimore that they could be linked to. That was all the other detective there. So I guess their only crime is that, yes, they escaped custody, which is okay. Fine, that's a crime. Fine.
Yeah.
Also, all of the grave desecration.
He didn't mention identity like stuff, right?
No, all the credit card stuff. I guess I think Hendrickson probably doesn't care about that as much, because it probably comes hand in hand with all the other crimes they're doing anyway. But I guess they do tend to go for the more extreme cases. They back out and drive off. With the music still playing. It's great. If you've never seen that musical transition, go watch it. You can search for it. There's a clip on YouTube. It's the greatest. It's so good.
We won't be able to put that in. Definitely go watch it. Just copyright stuff. So
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a really good episode. Like, though it was the beginning of a plot heavy episode, or because we don't know at this time like how much of this is actually going to affect the rest of the seasons, like the next kind of couple of seasons. But it was a very good like introduction to a new story.
Yeah,
that was very, very good. I liked it very much.
It is kind of the B plot of this season and like other seasons going on, but I actually like it more sometimes. I think it's really good. Yeah, they try to do this again in season 7, and I don't feel it worked as well. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, great episode. I'm putting it on my top 10. I know you said top 20. I'll start at top 10 and see where it goes.
Sounds like a good plan. So we're doing a little bit of a tonal shift in our next episode of Houses of the Holy. This is a Sarah Gamble and Kim Manners collaboration. So I mean it's still going to be good. It's just going to be different.
I'm looking forward to this episode, Annabelle. Like, I feel like this episode has so much foreshadowing in it. It's I don't know how I'm even going to start talking about it. Like, I'm very excited. Also, one of my favourite Led Zeppelin songs. Maybe it is my favourite Led Zeppelin song. Get back to me with that. Oh, yeah. So with that, thank you so much to our wonderful friend, the Pixel Agora, for our artwork on the podcast. You can follow them on Ko-fi. I would suggest commissioning a beautiful piece of artwork of anything that you would like. Have a little look at their commissions. Also, you can follow us on all of the social media stuff. Do I need to list them? No, they're in the description. But if you can think of it, we're on there. And if you think we should be somewhere else, message us.
We want to be in contact with you.
Yeah, talk to us.
So this week we came across a couple of mandroids. We robbed a bank, but not really. And we got found out by the FBI. Hopefully next week we'll get some holy prayers.
Maybe.
We shall see.
Bye.
Bye.